welcome back once again to our final part of our Tuffy Talk continuation, Tuffy Talk After Dark. Obviously, again, if you haven't seen the Tuffy Talk live show on December 12th as kind of the beginning of this whole conversation here, and then we have part one, or kind of the middle piece, the first part of the Tuffy Talk After Dark continuation episode, and then we have the final part here. So if you haven't seen those already, make sure to go check those out first, which once again, just as a reminder, if you haven't seen those and you're tuning in right now, it's not necessarily that you won't know what's going on here, but if we didn't discuss something here that you expect us to, it's probably because we discussed it in the other pieces. So, but jumping right back into it. So we were talking about NIL, transfer portal, and being the Wild Wild West. You know, my thing, and I've been honestly thinking about this all day, you know, and the biggest thing, which, you know, Doran kind of said, is that basically his point being is that it's giving young adults opportunities to make life or career changing mistakes. That's the problem with the way it is set up right now. And obviously at the end of the day, you know, they should be able to do what they want, but at the end of the day, the NCAA should focus on first and foremost setting these kids up to be successful as players, as men, as women, as you know,
future leaders,
human beings. Yeah. And the biggest issue which I have right now, and again, we're going to talk about, you know, a specific situation, but with how things are right now is that basically if things aren't working out, basically in short terms, I'm just going to retweet. I'm not retreat. I'm basically just going to say, all right, I'm out of this. I'm going to go back, you know, and start over again. And you know, my thing is, and one of my favorite quotes, which actually is from one of our coaches, Ruffin McNeil, that I love during his time at ECU. It's an awesome quote, you know, where he said, you know, as a man, you're gonna, you know, plant your feet, take a brace, hit it right in the jaw, and say, "Bring it on! Want some, get some." Like at the end of the day, you got to turn around and say, "Hey, listen, you know, I am a competitor. I am good enough. I'm gonna win this job one way or another. Like, listen, there's this guy in front of me, or there's two guys in front of me. I don't care. I'm gonna do what it takes. I'm gonna put in the time. I'm gonna put in the work, and I'm gonna win that daggone job back." And you know, because not only do I want the job, also because I love the school. I want to represent the school. I want to be, you know, at the top. Simple as that. Like, you know, eventually, when is it going to become that you're going to stop, you know, retreating and finally figure out that at some point you're going to have to put your fists up and say, let's go. Like, you know, at some point you're going to have to compete. Simple as that. You know, and not necessarily because, again, this isn't me calling out one person, but it's just a former NC State player that, you know, that we're seeing this with, and that, but you're seeing this in multiple different places. But obviously, the news of Aaron McLaughlin, former 4-star quarterback, you know, transferring out, you know, which a lot of people speculate is because, you know, MJ Morris, you know, came in and was looking really, really good. But also, too, you know, he went to Jacksonville State, didn't get the starting job, and then transferred out. And so once again, I'm saying, well, you're not going to transfer out of Jacksonville State, not being the starter, and going to a Power 5 school or something like that. Like, you know, more than likely, and, you know, unless somebody really, you know, wants to take a chance on you. So it's like, where are you going? Like, what's going on now? And like JT Daniels, you know, that's another example. He went to USC for 2 years, and then he went to Georgia, and then he went to West Virginia, and now he's transferring again. It's like, what are we doing here? When are you going to, like, finally, like, listen, put up or shut up. Like, life is tough. You know, at some point you got to learn to face adversity. It's going to happen one way or another. So
I have a couple of thoughts here on this. One,
go for it, Greg.
You know, that's not what this country was built on, right? This country wasn't built on retreating and trying to figure things out. It was, you put your best foot forward and you just grind and you make it your own, right? Like, nothing is handed to you in life. And I think that's kind of what these kids are looking for, is a free handout. They've been anointed the great ones, you know, all through high school and so on and so forth. And then when they get a little adversity, they turtle up. And sorry, I lost my voice. Hold on.
And again, you know, I want to, you know, clarify too, again, we're not talking about one specific person. I know I brought up Aaron McLaughlin, but that's just because he's the most recent guy and because he is a former NC State guy. But again, this is happening for players all over the country, multiple players. So Greg, go ahead.
Yeah, and so the thing is this generation just doesn't think like old school. Like, I mean, I'm in my late 40s, and like I've been all over the world in cruddy situations, and you know, life has handed me lemons on more than one occasion. But all you do is just put your head down and keep grinding, and you're going to get through. It's frustrating to see that they don't want to work for it. They just want everything given to them on a silver platter. And look, I was never a college one athlete. Never will pretend to be. But it's just and I don't think I'm in the minority that thinks this is just keep grinding. Like if you want to make it and make something of yourself, keep fighting for it. Don't just go to take the easy route. Like life is all about adversity. It's about getting knocked down and getting yourself back up off the pavement, brush yourself off, and keep you moving. And I just don't see that in this generation, and it's frustrating. And I won't go too far, but it's like this whole me TikTok nonsense, and I mean, you can take it on a whole different rant, and just self-absorbing, and it's ridiculous is what it is. So anyway, I'll get off my old man porch.
Well, and the only other thing which I'll add, and Macon and Michael, I know I've talked a lot, and I'll let you guys add in here, but I mean, what do they expect when they get to the NFL? I mean, there's no transfer portal in the NFL. I mean, you have Emeka Emezi, one of NC State's greatest wide receivers, and he's barely scratching on a practice squad. I mean, like you're going to have to learn to face adversity, especially if you want to get a job in the NFL. So,
yeah, I just think that some of these guys realize they need to make money now while they can.
Maybe
that's part of it. Yeah. Part of it. I mean, hey, that's what people wanted. They wanted players to get paid. They deserve to. Maybe you guys can tell me I'm wrong. I get that it's like a full-time job. I know, Leighton, you have a stance where you thought that's like they deserve to get paid something. But I think the way it's structured is not healthy for football, especially with no regulation. Right. And This is what happened. This is what happens when I mean, the thing is, everybody and their brother saw this coming.
Yep.
And they were all like,
Stevie
why
Wonder
is this happening? I cannot believe it. This is just so bad. Like, well, what do you think was going to happen? These are kids, right? And they got adults and people.
And some of these kids come from nothing, by the way, right? So any bit of change in their pocket is great.
Right. So, I mean, you guys, this is just part of it. I mean, people, it's all right. You asked for it. People tried telling you, and you guys seem like you're like, you're shocked that it is happening. And it's like, well,
and
it's what it is.
And you bring up a point, Megan, and I don't think you mentioned this other part of that point is you really opened up the stink house when you authorized agents to get involved, right? Because now you have these agents that are acting, quote unquote, on the best interest. And they're basically, all they're doing is pimping their player out and going, okay, he'll give me 20, he'll give me 50, he'll give me 75. And that's all they're doing is putting these kids up on an auction bid. And it's, highest bidder gets them, and, go have at it, kid. And then the next year you're like, it was crappy. They didn't like where they're at. They got their money, but they're not happy. Right. So.
Yeah, no. Well, again, it's just frustrating because the biggest thing, which I think is the coolest thing about college football, is after the players leave, like if they go pro or whatever, and saying like, NC State through and through, like, go to heck Carolina, like, just like bleeding NC State inside and out. And unfortunately, it's the word commitment. I can remember there was a coach that said it, but the word commitment does not mean commitment anymore. It doesn't mean that whatsoever. Like, and not only just for that high school recruiting cycle, but even for when they get to the college, commitment doesn't mean anything. Like, again, it should be when a player says I am committing to this school, that means that I am becoming a member of the Wolfpack. I am becoming a Pittsburgh Panther. Like, I am going full out into this. I am going to do everything I can to help them win. But then after I leave Pittsburgh, I am going to love and support this school for the rest of my life. Like, that's what it should be, which unfortunately now it's going to be very few and far between, and that's just the fact of it. And Macon mentioned, how I with me being a former equipment manager, having a lot of friends of mine, being former NCAA football players, seeing what these guys do, they should get something, and more of just to really, help from a financial perspective in terms of, helping them, live life outside of the college, AKA like, if, they want to, pay for their car, or if they want to, pay for, stuff, outside of, the football season or the school, whether it's, go on a trip or, pay for food for their family, whatever it may be. Or more specifically for the guy who is a grad transfer that has a kid, now if that guy's a father, he's having to think about, well, what am I supposed to do? Because per NCAA law, you can't have another job outside of being a student athlete. So now you're basically like, okay, so am I going to be a student athlete, or do I go get a job to financially support my family? So that's what NIL was able to bring was an opportunity for them to do both. But to Greg's point, the fact that it's uncapped, is the worst thing of all. Like,
It's not even uncapped. It's not even uncapped. It's just there's no
there's nothing.
There's no structure.
There's nothing
no structure
there.
to
There's
it.
zero. Yeah.
There's no accountability. There's nothing.
So
Michael.
in regards to the transfer part, I agree with most of what you guys said. I still play devil's advocate here. I still think that players should have that freedom to choose it for themselves, even if it may not end up being the best. Like, you can't always protect people from themselves. And I think there are, opportunities for players to, if they're stuck behind a future NFL player, but they're, just as good, but they're just stuck behind him on a depth chart, and they want to transfer somewhere where they can actually go and showcase their skills, and then possibly them get to the NFL one day, or an NIL deal or something. I think that they should have the freedom to do that. And yes, you're going to get players who not take advantage of it, but who are transferring just because they don't want to put in the work. But I think, like I said, I think they should just have the freedom to choose that for themselves.
Let's give a positive example. I think Chandler Zavala was a pretty good positive example of what the transfer portal can do, right? He came in from a lower level school. He's coming to NC State, and he's actually now just committed to the East-West Bowl game, Shrine Bowl game. But East. So he's going to get NFL guys looking at him in a much bigger way than he could have otherwise.
He wouldn't have got that at Fairmont State or wherever he's from. Yeah,
heck no.
Yeah.
So
I'll play devil's advocate to the devil's advocate. Like, if you're good enough, they're going to find you, right? Because Tampa Bay has taken a couple of kids from Division II out of the last couple of drafts. One from Hobart College. So I would say that's, on the level playing field. But for me, and Macon mentioned it, if you're going to, you have to regulate one or the other or both. You have to either regulate the transfer or you have to regulate the NIL. When they're both out of whack, it just keeps getting more out of whack because there's no oversight on it. And it's going to get to the point where, and I agree, like as an 18-year-old, right? And I'm not a Division I athlete. I can go from job to job to job, right? If I don't like my job, I can go find the next place to go to work and make quote unquote money.
Yep.
College coaches have the same ability. If they're not happy or they get fired, they have the ability to jump from jump to jump to jump. Right. And the NCAA has tried to, give them a little bit. Okay, we'll give you one freebie, or if you drop down, then you can come back and then, move around, no problem. Yeah. And I'm okay with that. You just have to make the decision. Which one are you going to regulate more? Are you going to regulate the NIL or are you going to regulate the movement? Because as long as you let them keep just getting bidding, it's just going to get worse and worse until you have no ability to rein in back into Pandora's box. And that's the problem. They've already opened that box.
Well, and again, it's the simple example that I've already said, because it's honestly like mind-boggling to me that this is actually happening in college football. But there's a guy, and again, I'm not calling out JT Daniels because honestly, I'm blaming the system as much as I'm more than I'm blaming anything else. But this guy is about to go to his fourth college within one college career. That is insane. That is crazy. Like that should not be a thing. That should not be possible. Simple as that. Because again, what is that teaching if that's a realistic possibility out there?
And honestly, I would like to do the math on that. Like how is he able to pull this off? Right? Like I know
there was crazy
because there was a COVID. Right? I don't think COVID counted against him, so that was one of his schools. But that's still 3 transfers. Oh, so you can transfer within that and you be good.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, then let's clean that up. Then, like, you got to clean something up here.
Before we continue, I want to take a quick second to tell you about our sponsor, Flightland's Jessup Insurance Group, that has your whole world covered, with agents in 5 offices throughout Eastern North Carolina to help you decide how much coverage you need, offering policies for home and auto, recreational vehicles, commercial, crop, health, life, and employee benefits. They are able to combine options to find a comprehensive solution that works for you. Flightland's Jessup protects the things you love so you can spend less time wearing and more time enjoying them. Find them on Facebook and Instagram at Flightlands Jessup. You can also visit their webpage at www.flightlandsjessup.com. So please make sure to go and check them out. Yeah, again, like maybe something like you get one free transfer, but then if you transfer a second time, you have to sit out a year.
Well, that's what it's supposed to be. That's what it's supposed to be.
Oh, okay. Well, that's not what's happening. Yeah.
Well, that's what I'm saying. Like, how
Yeah.
did he
Yeah.
skirt around that? And I think because of the COVID
Right.
and then his medical red shirts, I think those didn't count because if he's saying
Gotcha.
medical doesn't count, there's 2, COVID is 3, and then there's your 4th school. So
Well, and if you're just a grad transfer, then you can just transfer and play immediately too.
So if he graduates,
there's a lot of loopholes.
Yeah. So is he a graduate transfer? Is that what he's transferring under?
Yeah,
It has to be.
Technically, now he is.
It has to be. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's just, but the one thing which I will say once again is the thing I love about NC State. Now we're talking, simple NC State, is that I feel very confident in saying that there is a lot of loyalty within these players, within these coaching staff to this program, to the school. Simple as that. I mean, literally last year it came to the point where we were to the end of the transfer window where we basically had too many scholarship players where we had to basically, start to be like, unfortunately we have to start talking about, people moving. But I mean, like UNC, but again, UNC we literally have less people in the transfer portal right now for our entire team than they have in one position, and honestly in less than half of their one position, aka they have 7 defensive backs that transferred alone, just defensive backs. That's crazy. So
so tell me how Dre Bly's doing without telling me how Dre Bly's doing.
Tony Grimes left.
Ducks
left. Storm Ducks left.
Yeah.
How that defensive back still has a job? Defensive backs coach still has a job.
Rude boys, though, guys. What do they call them?
Yeah.
Rude boys.
Rude boys.
Yeah, right. Rude boys. So, again, it's just a testament once again.
It is dumb. I'm sorry. If State did it, I would think it was stupid.
Yeah. But and this, we didn't even talk about the one who put his name in the portal and pulled it right back out. Right, that was Claude.
Claude Larkins.
I don't know if that was ever.
Yeah,
he made a situation where he's like.
Yeah, you're right. I've seen where he did and didn't. So depending on who you subscribe to on that one, but and the one that we have with Devin, I mean, that was just kind of like in any other given year, he's probably not the one that leaves. It's probably someone else that leaves. That was not indicative on the program, right? It was just, again, stuck. It was depth. That was a depth chart move. It wasn't I'm not happy here move because he's very much appreciated, and Coach Dorn had nothing but praise for him in the press conference today. So,
well, and I'm sure too, the only thing which I do know is, is that Leary and Tim Beck, had an interesting, relationship of a sort. But I mean, his family loved NC State. His mom repeatedly said, said out to Wolfpack Nation, like, y'all are the best. Like, thank you so much for all the support. Like, he loved to hear.
I'm telling you what, I am really, honestly, really bummed and really sad he's not going to be. It can be really weird to me. It's like Devin Leary is not our quarterback. Yeah. Like, that's going to feel really
that's crazy,
sucky to me. I love Devin Leary as a quarterback. I mean, again, like I said, I've seen him throw 35 and 5. I haven't seen MJ do that.
Yeah.
I think MJ's gonna be a great quarterback, but I've not seen him do that yet. And Devin Leary's been here the whole time, and now he's left. And hopefully, he represents State just like Russell Wilson did. And it's
it's a
much better terms. It sounds like it's leaving, so I think he's much more willing to. But QBU still alive and strong. But man, I just don't like seeing a guy when you develop him at QBU and he's like listed as a number 1 transfer option. Period, and it's like. He's going to go somewhere else
and be successful because we know he's going to be successful. I mean, it's just what he does. The one thing I will say about Devin Leary's parents is they were very classy with like you were saying, Leighton. Can't be said for other parents out there that I've seen on Twitter talking about fan bases when their kid transfers out. And I won't name any names, but I think we all know who I'm referring to.
Yeah.
So
yeah.
Hey, and it's their right. It's their right.
It's their right. Yeah, exactly.
Fans are very fickle, and they love you when you commit and do well for the program, and they can't stand your guts when you leave. Thankfully, none of the 4 of us are like that, and I think that's why we all get along well with each other. That we respect the process and the people involved, and we know what it takes. And hey, I know we've got fans out there that are kind of jerks sometimes, but
sure.
It's not. it's not to the point where you have parents tweeting about it. So that I'm forever thankful for our fan base.
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. So wanted to kind of touch on two more things here to kind of wrap this up. So the first one, got to give a shout out to our man, Zonovan Bam Knight. I mean, that dude has absolutely been on fire in the NFL over the last couple of weeks. I know this tweet here that Macon sent over from PFF has him over the last 2 weeks. He ranks second in PFF rush grade. He's second in missed tackles forced, second in elusiveness rating, third in runs of 10 plus yards, fourth in rushing yards. Over the last 2 weeks. Again, that's all NFL running backs right now. That's crazy.
So could he be this year's James Robinson is what I'm wondering. But he was drafted, right? So it's a little different.
Yeah.
Right.
But I mean, he's looking really good. Now, again, and it's only because Breece Hall is injured.
Yeah, but
right?
he surpassed Michael Carter on the depth chart.
Which is awesome.
It was even sweeter because he's a UNC guy. But it's just, you get what I'm saying? Like, that is
Did anyone watch that game yesterday by chance?
A little bit.
I did.
Yeah, I watched about a half and a little bit, and you could tell the difference between Bam and Carter running the ball. Carter was getting dropped behind the line. Bam was getting at least to the line of scrimmage or plus 1 or 2 on every carry. And it's the same exact line. I mean, they're not doing anything different or blocking.
There was there's a picture of Zonovan of Bam out with Sauce Gardner at a Rangers game. I mean, he was like, it's kind of cool, like the lottery pick hanging out with like the 6th, 7th round draft pick, and they're probably fan favorites, both of them at this point. So,
well, I mean, like literally
for a New York City team, right? So the New York's big market there.
Yeah. Big sports market, no kidding. Well, especially too, I mean, like the fact that again, I mean, I know myself, like me and Greg are in a league, Macon and I are in a league for fantasy football, etc. I'm sure Michael, you probably do some fantasy football stuff too. Like to see like fantasy football shows and them talking about Bam Knight and publicly saying how the head coach of the Jets like loves Bam Knight, like like there's no doubt that he obviously the coach obviously has a love for Bam Knight even over Michael Carter. Like that's really cool because I think that's something that NC State really hasn't had. We've had the wide receivers like with Jacoby Myers, we've had the quarterbacks obviously, but we really haven't had a running back. So to have Bam Knight finally,
that was really good.
Who was?
Yeah,
Andre Brown.
Yeah, Andre Brown.
He played.
Naeem has had some flashes, but really not at running back.
Naeem.
Yeah, but more at specialist.
He's not like a true running back.
He's made most of his money on specialist and as a receiving back. And then Jay Sam had a little cup of coffee there for a little bit. But
cup of coffee.
Yeah, but just where I'm going with that is a dominant force in the NFL. And Andre would have been really good, except he had injuries. He had those neck injuries, so he never got to really reach his full potential. But yeah, you're right. It's been a while. We've been a quarterback, wide receiver, and then defense is really where we made our mark on
defensive line. Defense,
and then lately special teams.
Exactly.
So.
Yeah, exactly. So again, huge shout out to Bam Knight again. Making Wolfpack Nation so proud. I mean, that dude has absolutely lit the NFL by fire over the last couple of weeks, and hopefully he can keep that going and make a very, very strong case for a team picking him up, assuming that obviously the Jets go back to Breece Hall and maybe he wins the backup job to Breece Hall. Maybe that'd be cool.
I mean, he's the leader in the clubhouse right now with that.
Maybe he'll start over Breece Hall.
At least until he comes back.
Yeah. Hey, but I love it. I'm like,
that's a serious injury. I mean, an ACL is a serious injury.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no guarantees. So.
It's a bold strategy, Kyle. Let's see if it pays off for him. Week 1, the coach comes out. We're going to start Bam Knight over Breece Hall.
Well, here's one thing I'll tell you. Here's the one thing I'll tell you. He'll get picked up in fantasy football next year over Michael Carter. So
he'll be the handcuff, right? He'll be the handcuff draft.
The elite handcuff running back. Exactly. So again, love to hear that. Great stuff there. And then lastly, got to give a shout out to our man Carlos Rodon, who per this tweet says apparently Rodon to the Yankees is almost wrapped up.
Plural hearts.
It hurts my heart.
Is almost wrapped up. Sides are just hammering out the back end of the contract. Said to be 6 years, 4 years guaranteed with a player option for the 5th. and a mutual option for the 6th year. Salary slightly front loaded with an AAV between 29 million to 31.5.
That's even higher than I heard. I was hearing
crazy.
26 to 29.
Yeah,
So
well, because
30 million.
AAV that means per year value.
Yeah.
Correct. Okay,
Yeah.
that's crazy.
30
So
mil
total
per year.
So 30 mil times 6, so $180 million. You know, that's crazy.
He really proved it this year because this was like, I think probably the second year in a row he's been healthy. He had a little bit last year where he had he missed a few starts, but this year he was truly healthy. And look, we all knew this as NC State fans that he could be dominant. His problem was just staying on the field. With,
exactly.
whatever random ailment he ended up getting, and talking about bad luck. But it's glad to see that he's putting it together. And what is he now? 26, 27 years old, somewhere around there. I mean, he's been in the league a while.
Yeah.
I think he may be a little older.
Maybe a little older than that. Maybe 20.
Maybe
because I think Trey's almost 30
29.
now. Because I think Trey's like 28, 29.
Well,
so
and they came in the same year, so
Right,
I would
so they're
I would
probably
put a safe
okay.
bet
I was
they're
thinking-
they're
I
same
think,
age.
he's probably, I
30.
think he's like 28, 29. Is he 30 now? Okay.
Yep.
So that's a lot of money to give to a pitcher at that age with those kind of injury history. So good for him to get cash in. We had two guys cash in this year.
Well, and the craziest thing is, again, we mentioned this on the last live show, but I mean, I can't say it enough because, especially the coolest thing about Avent and Coach Hart is what they've been able to do recruiting with as little as they have had, aka more of the facilities being like, don't go to Mississippi State, don't go to Arkansas where they have MLB size stadiums.
LSU,
Come to NC State where we have 5,000 seat stadium. Probably less than that actually.
I think it's less.
So
There's like
so the fact they were able to
bigger than us.
no, for sure. But the fact they were able to recruit those guys with that, now you have these great upgrades which are in the progress right now. On top of now, we have 2 players that just got signed for combined $480 million, give or take. Between 2, that's a huge recruiting point right there.
We
I'm
need
just
the
saying,
Rodon Turner Stadium.
Yeah.
Hey, I'm all for it. Whatever it takes to get these guys in. So again, just great stuff going on there. Any other points I'm missing? I was looking at my notes here. I think that's pretty much all I had from my end.
I think we pretty much
covered pretty much touched on it all. But again, y'all, and obviously we talked about men's basketball. We pretty much hit that to death. But once again, just be patient. There's a lot of basketball left. A lot of season yet to be played. We still got to support these guys 100%. Be there. Go to games. Support these guys. They deserve it. They're talented enough to get it done. And let's see if they can do it. And at the end of the day, if they can't get it done, then we'll
get a new coach.
Boo's got a decision to make it during the off season. So simple as that. So, but be patient, y'all. But with that being said, once again, just a reminder again, if you haven't already, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell so you're notified on all your devices whenever we go live with any new Tuffy Talk content. And also to give this video a like if you enjoyed it, and also to give us a follow, Tuffy Talk now on Twitter and Instagram. But thank you all so much for joining us. We will see y'all next time. And as always, go back, baby.